We're still talking about Just Stop Oil. I find it very difficult that the war in Ukraine seems to have slipped out of the media's attention completely. But we'll bring it back next week, I promise. A lot of people saying it's as if the media has forgotten. And I think actually
it's
you're
not going
right.
well there.
Now, let's talk to Patrick Hart, who joins us. Patrick, good evening. Thank you for coming in.
Hi, James.
You're the spokesperson for Just Stop Oil at the moment. Are you worried that the attention has been taken off you now by the current crisis in the Middle East?
So you were just saying to me about the lack of attention for the war in Ukraine, and obviously there's another crisis. We live in a time of crises, but the absolute mother of all crises is the climate crisis. And
worse than what's going on in the Middle East?
The story, I'm not here to compare which is the worst. The story which must get through is that we have to end all new oil, gas and coal if we're to stand a chance of survival.
You've just sort of contradicted yourself, because I said, are you upset that your story has slipped out of the news? And you must be fairly upset that it has.
You've contradicted yourself because you said it slipped out of the news, yet here we are talking about it right now.
I'm putting the news right.
He's made it back.
Well, I thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing I want to know is that a lot of people have said now, and I'm sure you see the social media, a lot of your followers seem to want to get involved. They got involved in sitting in front of the bus going to the
Bibby Stocker.
Thank you very much. Do you think you might get involved in this current sort of unrest with the marches for Palestine and various other things going on at the moment? Would you see yourselves there?
So you introduced me as a spokesperson for Just Stop Oil.
Yep.
That is the capacity that I'm here in. I am here for absolutely one thing only, to say we must stop.
But why are you joining other things then, like the Bibby Stockholm and other protests?
So I personally...
You're diluting the message by doing that.
I can talk about the Bibby Stockholm because the climate crisis is a health crisis. I'm a doctor and I'm here to talk about health, but also it's a refugee crisis. It is in the process of creating the most refugees the world has ever seen.
Well, we should
so that is relevant, but I'm not here to talk about that.
Well, you tell me what you want to talk about, because quite often I get people from Just Stop Oil. You tell me, but briefly, because if you only have a certain amount of time, what are you trying to achieve?
All right, let's put it this way. When I knew I was coming on this show, I read up a bit about you guys, and I saw something really wonderful about you, James, that you were part of... Yeah, exactly. Part of founding a charity for, I think it's for kidney cancer, which I thought was amazing. So I became a doctor because when I was a kid, my mum had cancer, and I was absolutely terrified, right? And I saw... The wonderful people who run charities. I saw doctors and nurses in the NHS save my mum's life, and I thought, I want to be part of that. The climate crisis is going to destroy our capacity to deliver healthcare. It will destroy the supply chains.
So is the way you're doing it. So is the way you're doing it.
It's absolutely not.
What
we
you're
are
doing
preserving human life.
I was taking my friend to a hospital appointment, and you guys were on the M25. She couldn't make it. She got cystic fibrosis, which is a terrible lung disease, which you will know about as a doctor. She had waited and waited for this appointment. You guys stopped her. You as a doctor, and I say shame on you, because it was really upsetting.
So I hear this all the time, and it's just an attempt to smear us.
It's not an attempt, it was fact.
We have never stopped an emergency ambulance getting to hospital. Yes,
I was in a car.
People, yeah,
okay. Her. She didn't need an ambulance.
Okay, sure. People going to routine appointments may have been delayed. I'm sure some were. People coming to my routine appointments are delayed all the time. We just saw a massive, unprecedented storm rip apart this country literally a few days ago.
I don't think that really is true. And
it was pulling people's roofs off. Over 100 schools were shut down. So many people were delayed in getting. Many people were delayed in getting to hospital.
Look,
it's not even December.
I want to try and get something out of this.
This is the world I'm trying to describe to you, where you cannot get healthcare.
I'm going to help you here.
All right?
I'm going to help you. Okay.
Please do.
I want to see this country clean, this world cleaned up. I don't want to see the pollution. I don't want to drive down the motorway seeing old bits of car left all over the place. I don't want, but the way you're going about this, we are not going to be able to go straight to renewable energy. We're going to need oil and gas and some coal for quite some time to come to get there.
Can you tell me, what do you mean by quite some time?
I don't know.
Probably 100 years or 50 years or something. I mean,
it sounds like you're plucking numbers out of the air there.
Well, we haven't got for everyone to live off electricity. We haven't got enough, have we? Solar and wind energy to get.
And that means that people in intensive care are going to be. You know, I'm from time to time in intensive care. And the management of the NHS is a discussion some other time. And when you're talking about something else, I'll invite you in.
Thank you.
But now we're in this situation where we are telling people, right, well, you can't drive that car, you can't do this eventually, we've got to do this within 10 years, or the planet is going to die. Now, I've been doing this as a job.
This isn't something I'm saying, this is what the scientists are saying.
But yeah, but scientists say the opposite as well. We only hear from in the same way they talked about COVID as if they knew what
we've met loads of scientists who say it's incorrect.
But why don't you put your energies into China, whose emissions are so high in the 30s? Why don't you put your energies into talking to them? India, USA, we've got 1%.
You can't go to
conversations at once.
No, you can talk to them.
Can I respond first to you, James? I'm really glad that you're worried about pollution. So am I. Pollution,
all of us
air pollution already kills. I think it's something like 13 million people a year around the world, and this isn't me making things up like 50 to 100 years. What I've already just heard. This is based on real scientific evidence, published research. So yes, I'm worried. But
there's a lot of published research that will contradict what you're saying.
No, there isn't. Okay, so I'm going by scientific consensus, which means when you look at all the evidence. All the scientists get together, and 99.9% of them have agreed.
Okay, let's for 1 minute, and
catastrophe.
Then I want Lizzie to come in. But let me just ask you this, otherwise we just go back and forward. We don't get anywhere. Just a minute. The problem is, hang on, just a minute. The problem is this: we live in a democratic country, and if the majority of people do not want to follow what you say, even if it's true, you know. You can't force in a democratic country the majority of people to do something they don't want to do. So the feeling is that they don't like you, and they're trying to do their best, but the ULEZ charge, you know, you've got to have an electric car. Now we're seeing electric cars blow up and cause all sorts of problems. It would be great to get to a nation. Listen, I'm terminally ill. I'd like to live out my life, you know, fairly healthily. Not really going to happen, but you know, I'd like to. But the people who are actually not listening to you have themselves, who put the opposite point of view to you, to be listened to. And if they turn out to be the majority, what are you going to do?
So I'm glad you raised that one. You talk about the will of the people in a democracy. If you actually looked up the statistics, looked up the poll data, the majority of people do agree with us.
They're not voting for it in the elections, are they? They don't like us necessarily. I think, funnily enough, our approval ratings are at 17%. The government. Yeah, but you plucked figures out. You just said 99.9% of scientists agree with you. You plucked that out of thin air, didn't you?
No, I didn't. So this is what's.
Where's the stats that show that 99.9% of them agree with you?
It's very hard to answer questions if you're all firing questions.
Well, please just answer the question.
So first of all, the majority of people in the UK agree they want to see an immediate end to new oil, gas, and coal. Use what we've got.
You said 99.9% of scientists agree with you.
It's really hard to
plucked out of thin air.
Ash, if you don't shut up, I'll sack you.
I'll happily come to it, but it's quite hard to answer 3 questions.
We will run out of time. I know Blue has said it.
Yeah, and that'd be a shame. So the point is, the majority of people in this country do want to see an immediate end to new oil, gas, and coal. They agree with us. They don't.
I don't believe that. I don't believe your figures. I don't believe you can prove 99% of this country. That's almost.
No, I didn't say 99. I said the majority of people in this country want to see.
You said 99.9% of scientists agree with it.
You realise you've got to build new bridges for electric cars and
that's not true, is it?
Okay, let me answer your question.
I'm trying to do this without us all falling apart, which seems very, very difficult.
99.9% of scientists agree that gravity exists. 99.9% of scientists agree that evolution exists.
This doesn't help your case.
I agree with you there.
So the climate crisis is on the same level. It is irrefutable scientific fact. If you don't agree with me, it means
it's not the same as gravity, is it?
Just stop a minute. What are you going to do? Just a minute.
It's physics.
Before they cut me off.
Physicists that are better than me and you that will disagree with you.
Before they cut me off, and they will, what I want to know is if the majority of people, forget the scientists for a minute, because science changes continually, if the majority of the people in this country don't agree with you,
they do agree with us.
No, I don't think they do.
You're losing sympathy.
People freezing to death at home aren't agreeing with you. The tens of thousands of excess deaths every winter.
No, but when you stop people getting to their hospital appointments, when people have saved money to go to Wimbledon, you disturb the game and put off of the place. The things you do you not realise you are just losing any sort of empathy with you? No one supports you because you are just ruining people's lives.
You keep saying this, but it's just not true.
You are.
So,
I was there. My friend couldn't get to a hospital appointment. That's fact. I'm not disputing that. Do you feel good about it?
No, I don't. Of course I don't. I don't feel good about any of this. I'd much rather be treating patients.
I'd much rather you were in hospital and treating people like me.
I'm furiously busy working.
Yeah, I know you are.
Doing my job, and then I come here on my evenings because I am terrified. And
I am very,
that
very
climate
grateful.
breakdown will destroy healthcare in this country. It will destroy the NHS.
I understand that, but cutting off electricity to hospitals before we can absolutely listen to what I'm going to say. If we run out because we get rid of all our oil and our coal and gas and everything else, and our renewables, for some reason the climate becomes fairly placid and we can't actually get enough, then the hospitals are going to...
I wish the climate would become fairly placid.
Well, the climate's never been placid. That's never going to happen.
The absolute opposite is happening, I'm afraid. The climate is absolutely destroying us.
What do you think you are doing?
Listen, to quote NASA scientists, we are in the process of watching everything we care about.
The NASA scientists have got a lot of things wrong, but we won't go into that now. What on earth do you think you are achieving? Spraying orange paint all over buildings, defacing dinosaurs, all kinds of stuff. Do you really think that the public will warm to you?
You're losing sympathy. Don't you realise you're losing...
You already think 70% agree with you. You already think 70% agree with you, so why are you doing this?
So... Yeah. You said it already. You're really worried about pollution. I'm really, really worried about pollution. How about you get me back on this show without me having to disrupt anyone or ruin anyone's day?
No, because that's not the way it works.
The only way
it doesn't
ever
work
got to give this message is by doing this.
I've given you a long chance to answer the questions, and we'll probably get you back on another time.
That'd be wonderful.
I've asked you, and you say, "Oh no, I'm right," but you might not be right. And you're the guy filmed and photographed breaking petrol stations, people who were going to work, who couldn't fill up their cars to school, probably to a hospital appointment. You're the guy one of the guys who vandalised the petrol pumps. Do you really think that's going to make people warm to you? It just makes them hate you.
So I can't comment on anything where I have a court case that's up and coming, so I'm really sorry. I'd love to talk about that. Honestly, I would. You seem to get confused between people agreeing with the cause, end all new oil and gas.
Answer the question. What do you think you
agreeing
did?
With
what do you think you do to actually vandalise a petrol pump so people can't put fuel in their car, so you ruin their day maybe? And before I do run out of time, I'm going to throw this at you, so you've got time to answer two questions. Are you going to pay back the money that people spent on coming to the rugby match that you ran out in the middle of and tried to stop?
Don't like rugby anyway.
Why do these people need a refund? I don't quite understand. They got
because
to watch...
you ruined their game. Or the people who went to see Les Mis, and you ruined that.
Some of my own family were at that match. They were annoyed with me, but they got to enjoy.
They finished the game, but Les Mis, they didn't finish the performance.
No,
and that's Lovey's mistake.
Guys,
150 quid a ticket.
80,000 you owe them, by the way. Can we just let him reply for this now? Give you 2 minutes.
It was only rugby.
How are we going to pay back the families of the people who lost their lives in the recent storms that we saw? How are we going to pay back the people whose houses have been destroyed by flooding?
I ask you the question.
How are we going to be...
You put another question up for me. These unfortunate tragedies happen all the time. I could go back through my life and we have why we name
Lynmouth and
storms.
Linton, remember the flood there?
I've no idea.
50 people.
Answer me the question why you think vandalising a petrol pump, running onto a rugby match, or getting some of the people, I don't know if you were there, going on the stage at Les Mis, why do you think, or the snooker, or the dinosaur, we could go on.
It wasn't even a dinosaur.
Can we just let him answer? Why do you think that does your cause any good?
This is how change has always happened. Ever since the suffragettes, ever since the anti-apartheid movement, all of these causes have used disruptive tactics, and it has worked. And we are in a life and death situation. We are fighting.
Not working now for you.
We are fighting for our lives, and it is working. And the reason you keep saying it isn't working is because your boss has told you to say that because he's terrified about his investments in fossil fuels.
You've definitely plucked that out there now.
That's rubbish.
Well, you'd lose your job if you started agreeing with me, for sure.
Hang on.
I don't have any investments in fossil fuel.
He wouldn't tell me what to do.
This is fake news.
Just a minute. I decide what goes out on this show. Nobody would dare tell me what to do, because I am not the sort of person you tell something like
fake
that.
news.
Really
You've just given fake news. That is fake news.
That is fake news. And poor old Chuck hasn't got enough money.
All right.
I don't have any investments in fossil fuels.
The point is, right.
No investments in fossil fuels here.
The point is, right. The classic Gandhi quote, all right? First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. We are seeing so much pushback.
So how do we deal in a democratic country
because we are succeeding.
Because you're succeeding with a bunch of useless politicians who seem to be frightened of you, and I've no idea why. I've already said I agree with climate change. Climate change is a natural phenomenon. I agree, let me finish, I agree, they're giving me a little more time now, but not much. I agree that everything on this planet affects the climate. Lots of things outside this planet also affect the climate.
A few hundred years ago, it was 4 degrees warmer, wasn't it?
I'm trying to get to this point where I'm asking...
grapevines.
Where I'm asking Patrick...
It was 0.2
why does he think this sort of behaviour is succeeding when blatantly it isn't?
And your sponsors are pulling out, aren't they? Your money sponsors.
So it is succeeding. We have the majority of the British people who want to see an end to all new.
You're losing sympathy with
oil,
everyone.
coal, and gas. I think maybe invite me back and I'll print out the YouGov poll that says that we're succeeding, and then I'll just put it down in front of you.
Are you not embarrassed? Because I love doctors. They've kept me alive for a few years that I shouldn't be here, much to some other people's. What's that French name? French word? Chagrin. Yeah. Anyway. Chagrin. The fact is that a lot of people are not actually on your side. I can guarantee, looking at the calls come in, text tweets, people are saying, get this idiot off, he doesn't know what he's talking about and everything else. But you do know what you're talking about. You are absolutely... Can you stop talking to me in there, please? I really cannot believe for one moment that you are not prepared to admit that in a democratic society, if the majority of people don't agree with you, you may have to stop what you're doing. But you're saying to me, however it comes across in the media, we will keep on because we know we are right. That is a terrible situation for this country to be in.
We know the science is incontrovertible. So yes, we know the climate crisis is the greatest health threat that humanity has ever faced. That is not my words, the words of the World Health Organization. And we know that the
World Health Organization are an organisation that have already been disgraced.
Exactly.
All that cover-up,
this is exhausting. And we know that the majority of the British people do agree with what we're saying.
Well, then why doesn't it show at the ballot box?
It doesn't. You don't.
It doesn't correlate what you're saying. It doesn't correlate.
Okay, hang on. I would like, in the next hour of the show, when I'm doing some other stuff as well, I'd like to take calls from those of you, and I'll push them to the top of the list, from those of you who agree with Patrick. I want to hear from you. Now,
70% of you, apparently.
Yeah, so... Yeah, 83% apparently don't agree. They might agree with climate change.
They agree with you, but they don't agree.
Well, everybody agrees with climate change.
You're talking about how many people like Just Stop Oil. Yes, only 17% of the UK public like Just Stop Oil. But the majority...
So what about the 83% who don't approve of you?
But the majority of the UK public agree with our cause.
But that doesn't show at the ballot box, does it?
We agree with the fact we should make sure the country doesn't become over-polluted.
We've got an election coming up. Let's see what happens, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, let's see.
How many seats do you think the Green Party will get? They've got one or
Brighton.
two.
Yeah, they've got one in Brighton, which is terrible, the streets of Brighton.
Do you not feel guilty when you see like that mother trying to get her kid? Do you remember? And she's screaming and you're all in her way. Or you know, when you're distressing people, not letting them get on with their lives, not getting to their hospital appointments. Don't you feel guilt? As a doctor,
yes.
Surely you must do.
Of course I do. I feel terrible. It breaks my heart that this is something that we have to do in order to get the message across. It shouldn't take this. But what we're up against is a barrage of lies and nonsense and misdirection, which we've had for decades, funded by
you got your point across
funded by the oil companies. I mean, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face if I have to. This is a matter of life and death. This is me trying to save lives by saying end all new oil, coal and gas. All right, I'll say it again if you have to.
So how long do you think we can keep? We buy coal and oil and everything from the world market. Wouldn't it be good for us to be able to get it from our own oil fields, which we're going to do, because then you've got less pollution in the tankers bringing it over here?
So the projects the government are currently looking at will be run by foreign companies and sold on the world market. So it has nothing to do with benefiting us. I'm sorry to tell
Patrick,
you that.
I've got to go. Thank you very much indeed.
Patrick.
And I hope you feel your point across.